You ever look at someone who makes great money, has a solid career their whole life, but somehow ends up with, well, basically nothing to show for it? It's not because they're unlucky, and it's definitely not because they're not smart. It's because they're caught in a trap, a really quiet one that's been draining paychecks for generations. So today, we're going to expose this trap, and more importantly, figure out how to get out of it. To really get what this trap looks like, let me tell you about two brothers, Carter and Colton. Now, these guys had the exact same start in life. Same parents, same house, went to the same underfunded public school. Their dad drove a city bus for over 30 years. And when they first started their careers, they were both making about the same amount of money.
Okay, so let's fast forward to right now. Carter, he's 46, and he can just decide on a Tuesday to book a flight somewhere, doesn't even have to log into his bank account to check. Meanwhile, there's Colton. He's 44, and he makes double, literally double what Carter makes. We're talking 95 grand a year. And yet, he's the one up on Sunday nights, staring at his banking app, just drowning in anxiety. He's got only $11,000 in his 401k and still has 22 years left on his mortgage. How does that even happen?
The answer isn't some secret Wall Street formula or a get-rich-quick scheme. It's an invisible trap. It's one that has caught every single generation, from the boomers all the way to Gen Z. And you know what the most frustrating part is? You don't even feel it happening. It just feels like you're living your life. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, well, that's a problem for people who don't make a lot of money, I want you to look at this. A Goldman Sachs survey found that an insane 41% of American households making between $300,000 and $500,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. This is not an income problem. It's a trap problem.
So what is this trap? It actually has a name: lifestyle inflation. Here's what it is. Every time you get a raise or your income goes up, your spending just naturally rises to meet it. The apartment gets a little nicer, the car gets a little newer, the vacations get a little fancier, and look, it feels like you're making progress, right? But the gap, that all-important gap between what you earn and what you actually keep, it stays exactly the same, or sometimes it even gets smaller.
Now, this trap is a real chameleon. It just changes its look for every generation. For the boomers, it was all about keeping up with the Joneses in the new suburbs. Then Gen X came along, and they were handed the credit card, which let them borrow to upgrade their lives. For millennials, you had huge costs like housing and student loans blow up, plus this whole experience economy thing. And now, Gen Z is running the same trap, but at algorithmic speed, with buy now, pay later, and the endless, perfect-looking feed of social media. So here's the crucial part. This isn't about willpower. You can't just grit your teeth and decide to spend less. This trap is powered by 4 deep psychological triggers that are basically hardwired into our brains. They make it almost automatic. And understanding them, that's the only way you can actually fight back.
So, the trap's secret weapon? It's these 4 hidden mechanisms in your brain: hedonic adaptation, social comparison, something called the Diderot effect, and present bias. Let's break down exactly what these are.
First up is hedonic adaptation. There's a famous study that looked at lottery winners and found that after the initial shock, they weren't really any happier than before they won. Why? Because our brains just recalibrate. That brand new car feels amazing for a few months, and then it just becomes your car. The thrill is gone, but that monthly payment, oh, that's still there. The upgrade just becomes the new normal.
Second, we have social comparison. Look, we are wired as humans to figure out how we're doing by looking at the people around us. But social media has put this on steroids. Your reference point isn't the neighbor with the slightly nicer lawn anymore. Now it's an algorithm feeding you a perfectly curated vision of the top 1% of the entire planet in glorious 4K. It's a comparison game you literally cannot win. Third is a really interesting one called the Diderot effect. It's named after this 18th century philosopher, Denis Diderot. The story goes he got this beautiful new dressing gown as a gift. It was so nice that, all of a sudden, everything else he owned, his chair, his rug, his desk, it all looked kind of shabby. So he replaced it all, one by one, and spiraled into debt. One single upgrade can create this cascade of spending.
And finally, present bias. This one is huge. Your brain essentially treats future you like a complete stranger. We are wired to want rewards right now, and we heavily discount things that will happen way down the road. It's why something like 2/3 of people know they should be saving more, but they just don't. Think about it. You would never just hand your paycheck to a stranger on the street, but that's kind of what you're doing every time a raise just gets absorbed into your lifestyle.
Okay, so we know why this happens. We get the psychology. But what is the actual real-world cost? This is where it gets genuinely terrifying. We are not talking about a few $100 here and there. We're talking about life-altering amounts of wealth. Let this sink in. Just delaying your investing by 10 years, say from age 25 to 35, and we're only talking about $400 a month. That decision will cost you $800,000 by the time you retire. That decade of slightly nicer apartments and going out to eat a bit more didn't cost you the $48,000 you spent. No, it cost you nearly $1 million.
Or how about something that seems totally reasonable? You get a raise. You move to a nicer apartment that costs $700 more a month. Sounds fine, right? Well, over 40 years, if that same $700 a month had been invested, it would have turned into over $2.4 million. That upgrade doesn't just cost more in rent, it literally costs you millions in future wealth that you never get to build.
And this is the one that gets almost everybody. You get a single 5% raise on a $75,000 salary. And instead of investing it, you just absorb it. Your lifestyle inflates just a tiny bit. Well, over 30 years, that one single decision costs you almost $500,000. Every raise you get is a potential six-figure decision that most of us make without even thinking about it.
This all leads to this incredibly powerful quote from Morgan Housel. Wealth isn't the fancy car. It's not the big house. That stuff, that's just spending. True wealth is the stuff you don't see. It's the money that's quietly working for you in your investment accounts. It's the money you didn't spend.
And this isn't just a theory. The classic book, The Millionaire Next Door, tells this amazing true story of two guys who made almost the same income. You had Bubba, a mobile home dealer who drove a used truck and lived pretty simply, and then you had James, a corporate attorney with a luxury car and the tailored suits. Bubba's net worth, over $1 million. James's, a fraction of that. One guy looked rich, the other guy was rich.
Okay, so the trap is real, it's powerful, and yeah, it's costly. But here's the most important thing to remember. It is not mandatory. You can get out. And the key isn't trying to find more willpower. That's a losing game against your own brain. The key is to build better systems that just bypass willpower altogether.
So here are 4 simple systems. Number 1, automate your savings. The second you find out you're getting a raise, you set up an automatic transfer for half of that raise to go straight to your investment account before it even touches your checking account. Number 2, add friction to your spending. Delete your saved credit card info from websites. Make yourself get up and get your wallet. Have a 48-hour rule for any non-essential purchase over $100. Number 3, spend consciously. Go nuts on the 1 or 2 things you genuinely love and be absolutely ruthless about cutting spending everywhere else. And 4, every 6 months, do an audit of your invisible spending. All those subscriptions and auto-renewals that just bleed you dry. So let's bring it all the way back to the 2 brothers. What was Carter's big secret? It wasn't some magic stock pick. He didn't get lucky. He just had a simple system. Every single time his pay went up, he automatically redirected most of that new money straight into his investments before he ever even got a chance to get used to it. His lifestyle barely changed, but his wealth, it exploded. And that's really the core of it all, isn't it? The hardest skill in finance isn't some complex spreadsheet. It's just getting the goalpost to stop moving. Because if you don't do anything, it will move on its own. It'll creep forward, invisibly, automatically, unless you make a conscious choice to lock it in place.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. Not in a general sense, but I mean specifically. When was the last time you actually sat down and looked at how much more you're spending now versus before your last pay raise? I think most of us are a little bit scared to see the answer. But